Anthony was a very wise individual, and his wisdom carries on. Because as I was reflecting and kind of preparing for this conversation, I thought, really kindness is a the magical key to all of this. And looking through everything you do when you're parenting in this case, and you're raising a child with ADHD, is to look through that kindness lens. And not, there's moments of discouragement, right? And we can get frustrated, scared, all of that, but it cannot dominate the mission here, and it really goes back to doing it with kindness. It's where you find your strength. It's how you get through the day to day. It's just the wisest man in the room, with that kind of message, because it is true. There's a lot of truth in it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony.
And I'm Casey.
And welcome to Anthony's Way, the Road to Kindness YouTube and podcast, The Way Forward, a Kindness Mission. And especially welcome to those joining us for the first time. It's great to have you with us. We created Anthony's Way, the Road to Kindness in memory of our son, Anthony, with one mission in mind: to help kids with ADHD thrive. Through expert care and compassionate guidance, we've developed a supportive roadmap for parents, one that helps them better understand both ADHD and their child. With our YouTube channel and our podcast, we bring experts and expert voices and practical insights to families so they can navigate the ADHD journey with clarity, confidence, and kindness. So July is National Make a Difference to Children's Month. Our children are so special, and they need our time, our care, and our love. Today, we have an outstanding leader and voice for children and parents, Kate Brownfield, with us. Kate is an ADHD parenting coach, author, educator, and speaker, and a podcast host. Kate has a top-ranked podcast, ADHD Kids Can Thrive, where she interviews experts and advocates in ADHD and mental health. And that is how we got to meet Kate.
Yeah.
In January, we shared our story with Kate, and we enjoyed talking with her so much that we asked her to come and share her insights, her guidance, and her thoughts for parents on our podcast. So Kate, great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Our missions are very much aligned.
They are.
So it's fun to talk to you guys again.
You
great
too.
Great to have you with us today.
So what we normally do is we started off by tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us how you got started in creating ADHD Kids Can Thrive podcast.
Okay. So I'm a parent of two kids who are now young adults, and both of them actually have a version of ADHD, if you will. And this is probably, we're talking like 15 years ago. I kind of just had this big boulder flop on my head when one of my children entered school by the first grade, and everything started to change for him, which of course affects me as a parent, affected our family, and it became a different journey than I was expecting on getting my child through school. And at that time, I was looking at school, which I thought was the authority in children and getting them through school. And what I was learning is that they make it really difficult. And it's not an automatic for supporting children who are struggling. And I was fascinated by that because, as you know, like 1 in 10 kids has ADHD, 1 in 5 has learning disabilities. This is not a new phenomenon that is hitting our school system. And so I was, that whole journey with the school was becoming difficult. And then because that was increasing stress and our family life was becoming difficult, my child's mood was starting to change, right? Because the stress started to increase, which was creating different dynamics between me and my husband. And he had a sibling, and basically it became a shitstorm. And in that, I was like zooming in and zooming out, like what is going on? How do I, it's like processing what is happening. Why is this so hard? and just navigating that journey. And I was lucky enough, without really knowing what I needed, is I found myself in front of a therapist who was actually also a coach and was a expert professionally and in life in ADHD. She had ADHD. She had raised a child with ADHD. She had a grandchild with ADHD. She was married to a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So I found myself in front of her, and I was very open to receiving what she was going to share with me. And so she told me to go get a proper diagnosis, first step, right? Which I did. Came back, ADHD was part of the story. And she sat down and she just told me everything I needed to know. She said, this is what the journey's going to look like. This is what ADHD is. This is how it looks. These are the steps you're going to need to take. It's incredibly important that you take action now.
Right.
When he was younger, this is what it's going to look like. And these are all the things that you need to do. And I was at a place, I think, because I was so frustrated and very curious, that I was very open to receive this information. And she was kind of my guru in that moment. And I listened to everything she said. Did I understand everything she said in that moment? Absolutely not. But I did take it all in. And then after I had time to kind of integrate that, I went through like kind of a grieving process, really about how messed up this is for all children. For some reason, my heart just really not only was thinking of myself, but of all kids, and how this is just so difficult, hard to access resources. Even back at that time, 15 years ago, the information was behind closed doors, right? The experts held the information. And unless you got to them, you didn't know what to do, right? So I was like, this is the most, I live in Silicon Valley. I worked in tech for a long time before I became a parent. It kind of was like this world of like raising children who struggle is just really not operating at an efficient place. And so I created ADHD Kids Can Thrive, really with the mission to advocate and provide education. And as I've grown up as a parent and gone through my own journey and my own healing, I've gotten to a place now where I'm really able to help other people. For a long time, I wasn't able to do that. But I did the ADHD Kids Can Thrive podcast, which is interviewing experts and advocates, and just making information on all different kinds of aspects of ADHD for kids at all different ages, to learn from experts about like what they should do. It's like a slow drip of education, if you will. And that's been one of my greatest prides in my life, is to do that and provide that for free to anybody in the world who wants to learn something from like really smart people in ADHD. And I'm 100% motivated on the same mission that you are, to just make it a tiny bit easier for families, because the world has not been set up for that. And why to this day, I still do not know why we're making this so difficult for families, when it really is a common thing that's existed in children and adults for, since the beginning of time. So, anyway, so that's how I got into this. And here I am.
So
having a great time.
How old was your son when you got him diagnosed?
6, and he was in first grade.
So that's about the same time. And you went through it 15 years ago. We went through it like 20 years ago, and the only resource that I had was Chad. And that's when the internet was just getting started, and that was just reading article after article after article. And we were fortunate enough to have a friend whose husband is a psychiatrist. So we were fortunate in that way. But we know that there's so many parents out there that do not Do not have that fortune fall in their lap, which is why we're all doing what we're doing. And trying to get the information out to them to make it easier for them to have resources.
So kudos,
and just
kudos
some
to
understanding.
Your psychiatrist, man. Kudos to the person that helped you.
Well, she was a therapist.
That's
she was married to the psychiatrist, and she was incredibly wise.
Right.
And she didn't mess around. She didn't. She was really crystal clear.
Yeah. And
I am very thankful for that for every day, because that was a gift.
Yeah.
So when you do find people who are being really honest with you and giving you direct support, try to be open to it. We're all on our own journey as a parent, as far as what we're willing to take in and accept and recognize and all of that. So be gentle with yourself. This is not perfect. And just keep learning, right?
Yeah.
So much good words there. That's words of wisdom for all the parents listening, because it's not easy. And together we can really make a difference in helping it be a little bit easier for the parents. Yeah. So if you're picking up one or two items, you picked up a bunch from what Kate just said.
Yeah. I know we're sitting here writing stuff down as she's talking.
Yeah.
So Kate, what does thrive means when it comes to you, when it comes to kids with ADHD, and how is that different from just coping or managing?
Oh, okay. So thriving to me is your child has ADHD. To me, that mantra of ADHD Kids Can Thrive, underneath that is really that you're getting your child through high school with a good sense of who they are. And the greatest gift you could give your child is to allow them to be true to who they are. Right?
Yeah.
And not who you want them to be, not what you think they should be doing, but who they are as a human being.
Yeah.
That's thriving.
Yeah.
And that's the gift of a lifetime for anybody. And that is an incredible challenge for parents, right?
Yeah.
So I don't say it lightly, but that is kind of the utopia of what we're all working through, or what you're all working towards, right? There's not one way of being in the world. And it's really hard to kind of adjust your mindset on that as a parent. But it's incredibly important to a child, especially if they have ADHD.
Yeah. So as parents listening, what are some of the emotional challenges that children go through that have ADHD, that parents might, think, well, okay, they're just going through, they're a child. They're
like, how do you know if it's not normal?
You know if it's not normal versus
behavior?
ADHD. Yeah.
I know, because everybody thinks they're a little bit ADHD, right?
That's right.
That's part of the problem with ADHD. It's like one of the most misunderstood conditions in the world. And I think it's because everybody feels like they're a little ADHD. And that's because we just haven't done a great job of really educating the public on what ADHD truly is. My education is that ADHD is a neurological condition. It's not a mental health condition. It's neurological. So it's a person's biology, right? It's how they are wired.
Yeah.
So you can't change it. You can provide care, structure, and support, but you can't fix it, if you will. It's not due to poor parenting. It's not personal. Nobody did anything that created this kind of neurological condition in a child, right? So I would say, if I had to explain, which is a lot, right, to people who don't understand ADHD, one thing is it's really hard for somebody with ADHD to get through daily life in a way that 90% of the world takes for granted, right? So it's like getting up and putting your feet on the floor can be incredibly challenging, right? Getting out of the door on time. You take all these things for granted, right?
Right.
Being self-regulated, right? I mean, you could say the whole world right now is dysregulated. And really, one of my coaching friends and I say, if the world was better regulated,
Right.
we would live in a different world, right?
Absolutely.
But like everybody who's dysregulated, they don't all have ADHD. If you have a hard time getting up in the morning, doesn't mean you have ADHD, right? If you're late to show up somewhere, it doesn't mean, oh, you had an ADHD moment, right? So ADHD is just way more than that, and it is neurological, and there is no fix or cure. Yeah. These are people who are who they are, right? Yeah. They're atypical, and you're never trying to parent them to be typical, which is kind of the trap a lot of parents get into, including myself, right? You're trying to make them fit in. And that's not really kind of the ultimate journey and the goal, because it's not going to happen, because it's their biology. It's who they are.
So giving parents some words here, like, what we've heard is that there's like 3 or 4 times in the day that we need to guide the parents with kids that have ADHD. It's when they're waking up in the morning, getting dressed and all that good stuff. It's their dinner time, eating time, because if they're on medication, they haven't eaten all day. If they're on a stimulant, they haven't eaten, and then it's going to bed. And sometimes all 3 of those come, and the child would rather make a conflict sometimes than go to bed easy, or get out of the house or easy. So what kind of guidance can you give parents when they're in that, want to help their child through that? What are some of the thoughts you can share?
Okay, so, well, those 3 points, right? That's where like structure and a flow of life really helps an ADHD person, right? So like ADHD kids don't naturally figure out patterns in life. So the parent's role is and home life and school life does this too, is you create patterns, a flow to life, if you will. So getting up at the same time helps an ADHD child, right? Creating patterns to support them, right? So like if having their clothes laid out could be really helpful. I'm just thinking like in my own journey, right? It depends on the age of the child. It's like, where are you at, right? It could be just put your feet on the floor and get downstairs to the breakfast table. That's all you're saying, right? And then you're gonna like take it from there, fuel them with high protein food. That's gonna set them up, right? But if they're taking medication, you gotta feed them before they go off for the school day. And even if they're not taking medication, you have to properly fuel them. It's not sugary cereal. This is where like understanding the biology of ADHD kids is incredibly important. Giving your kid like a bowl of cornflakes versus like a couple scrambled eggs can make a significant difference in their day and their mood and their emotional regulation and their focus. So, all of that matters. And so, those things are important. Dinner time, I will say, if you can do it at the same time, that's beneficial. Dinner, them sitting at dinner might be for 3 minutes, right? It doesn't need to be typical. It could be just get the food in, right? Build the habit of coming to dinner, right? They could be incredibly bored and really struggle with small talk. And that comes as they mature. But if they're younger, right, and they're dysregulated, it may be really hard for them to do that. So, you change your requirements, and it's to just come and eat, and then you can get up and you can go, right? Like it's creating habits and routine and flow that isn't creating conflict. Right? Like if you're a parent and you just want your kid to sit at the table for 15 minutes to have dinner with you, I don't know, and you're going to yell at him for the whole 15 minutes, it's like, Is that a prior? Is that a value, a family value?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are the things
Great.
you have to, it's going to be different. The journey's different.
Right.
And that's okay. That's kind of learning to shift, that it's going to be different than a typical family dinner time. And then bedtime is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And if your kid is dysregulated, there's more going on there. So, you know, exercise plays a huge role.
Yeah.
And when you think of ADHD as a biological condition, the nervous system needs more input. If kids with ADHD have a lot of sensory issues, exercise can do a ton to just like burn it out. And some of these kids might need hours of exercise. I mean, you think about boys, young men, teenage boys with all the hormones and the testosterone, they need and they have ADHD, they need a lot, right? Yeah. This isn't like going for a walk around the block kind of exercise. This is like, you got to build your life and your structure and your flow with a lot of ways to get that energy out and reset their nervous system. And if you work on that, they will get to sleep. I mean, they may need more help medically with getting to sleep. And that's important too, because they need to go to sleep, right? They need a rhythm of going to sleep. Screens, turn off the screens. I was just talking to my husband about this. I was really strict on screens. And I have zero regrets. And, you know, when there's no access to a screen, it's pretty boring. Now, some kids, it's pretty boring to be up at 1 a.m. If you have no access to any kind of entertainment, it's pretty boring. And you probably will just go to sleep because you're just bored, right? So you got to look at that piece too. There's all kinds of science now with screens being, you know, that it's very stimulating. And when you turn that off, so like if you're allowing your kid to be on screens till 10 and then flip it off and expecting them to go to sleep, it's not going to happen, right? So you got to, it takes time to kind of unwind. I mean, we've all been on the screens, right? And you know, then you just lay in bed for a minute because your brain has to like decompress, and your eyeballs have been, you know, they think the sun is up, right? So you're just like completely turned on, like it's daytime, but it's really night. So anyway, ADHD kids their central nervous systems, they're very sensitive to all of this stuff. So all the decisions and values that you make as a family impacts everything, positively or negatively. And you get to decide as the parent how you want this to go. And because it's not personal, it's just how your kid is wired. And so you get to decide, and it's a very powerful position to be in as a parent. And all these things matter.
So all positive. Get them the right nutrition, get a schedule, get them on the right flow, try to make them follow that schedule. Feed them well, no sugar. I mean, that was no cake for breakfast, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
So
eggs, scrambled eggs.
And that's beneficial. Protein mix, whatever it might be. And then exercise is so critical. We agree, because we're a big exercise family, and we got all the kids moving, and whether it was dance or whether it was gymnastics or whether it was martial arts. I mean,
for sports.
And
every sport that existed, I think.
Yeah.
That really did help him a lot.
So, I mean, wonderful advice there for everybody. So, and some kids don't. So what do you do if a child doesn't want to exercise? How do you get parents to motivate? Are there other alternatives? What are some things that you've helped parents in that regard?
Well, okay, so a kid doesn't want to exercise. Like, where's the family value? So anybody can walk.
Yeah.
Okay, so walking, everyone's capable of walking unless you're physically disabled. Okay, so I'm going to talk about everybody who's physically able to walk. Walking outside is tremendously powerful, and it can do a lot for keeping your nervous system regulated. It's very grounded. It can keep you out of anxiety and depression. And everyone can walk. So even if they don't want to walk, they can walk. And it's incredibly powerful. And that is one that you can do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Too. And so I do know a kid who, I don't think he had ADHD. I do think he was autistic, but with a ton of anxiety. And he still walks. His parents created this routine, the flow, right? You have, I think they did dinner and then they went for night walks.
Nice.
And that was the rhythm of their family life. And I know this person who's now an adult still walks.
Yeah.
That's
right?
great.
It's how he regulates his nervous system.
Yeah.
It's how he probably keeps his anxiety at bay. And it's a tool that's going to serve him for the rest of his life. And so if you don't want to be physically, you know, the sports athlete, you know, the very basic walking is very doable and can be done. And, you know, if you live in a place with terrible weather and stuff, there's places that you can.
Side, yeah. Absolutely.
You have to make yourself get in the car and drive there.
So the good point, though, is what you're saying is it impacts the whole family. You got to change. If the whole family's not walking or doing something to move, movement is so important. So everybody get out, go for a walk. Everybody just, whatever it might be. It's all, you got to make it fun for the family and the child to do. And I think it can really impact everybody.
Yeah. And you know what? Parents, whether you have ADHD or not, raising a child with ADHD is very dysregulating. It is incredibly important for the parents to regulate and find their own calm.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. They have to remain calm. You're right.
Critical. Well, you have to. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get stressed and you're not going to have a moment of, you know, wanting to, like, you know, you're just, but you have to keep coming back to baseline. You can burn yourself out as a caregiver, right? And you have to create your own way of calming your own nervous system and moving your own self out of being afraid, overwhelmed. You have to give yourself great care. And walking is doable for everybody. So if you're doing it with your kid, I will tell you the hot tip on walking too is when they become teenagers, if you've established that habit, when they become teenagers, going for a walk, like after dinner, like at night, like at dusk or that kind of thing, you know, it's really helpful for the teenager because it's a great way for them to kind of, they'll share more. Right? It kind of helps them release the day. They might share a little bit more. It's a way for a parent and a teenager to be connected and kind of work through, you know, when you're a teenager, small problems feel very big, right? And so if you kind of have this routine and flow of a time where you're connecting with a parent, you know, that's very helpful too.
Yeah.
So Kate, there are all kinds of ADHD coaches out there. You predominantly coach parents, is that correct?
Yes, I only coach parents.
You only coach parents, okay. Yeah, so the one of the questions that we did have for you was, you know, how do you keep the parents from being overwhelmed, or how do you teach them how to not be overwhelmed if they do get that way? But you just answered that question, so.
Oh yeah. And I think the other thing is, like, parents get so, here's ADHD. They're cruising along, right? You're cruising along, going around the racetrack, and then boom, they accidentally crash into the wall, right? And you go into, like, it's never like a straight line, right, in their journey as they're growing up. And so that can be really unsettling to the parents because you go, oh my God, like, I got to make a new plan, right? Things have changed. The dynamics are different. It's time to make a new plan.
Right.
And that's okay. I would normalize that. That's part of this new journey of parenting, right? When you have a atypical kid. And also to just know to stay the course. That's my biggest one, is just stay the course. There's no instant fix. We're not trying to we're not trying to get a child to suddenly be typical. That's not the goal, right? We're staying the course on getting them, you know, like through school with their values, a good sense of who they are, figuring out their strengths, what brings them joy. You know, we're trying to take care of the whole little person here. And we're making sure we're allowing them to kind of like grow into who they are as a person, that they know how to, you know, be a caring family member, connect to other people, serve, you know, serve their community, like all these things that they have, you know, they have interest and talents, and that they're not just so sitting in this, like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I suck at everything, I'm no good, which is what happened. You know, it's really easy to go down that, right? So it's like, you just kind of got to take care of your whole little child person and all the aspects of them in life, and not just getting really good at being a productive, organized, task list, super clean person, right? Like that's not ultimately the goal. So I do try to, with parents that are overwhelmed and frustrated, a lot of it is just kind of resetting what the goal is for this little person that they're parenting. And really what they're trying, you know, what their role is as a parent. You can only control so much, right? And to really focus on the biggest pain points that they're having with their child. So like if your child is handling their emotions by throwing things or being destructive, let's go to that kind of emotional problem, you know, that's a big deal. And that is something that you don't want your child to grow up to be using violence as a way to solve their problems. So you really want to work on that. And if they're getting C's and D's in school, or they're not great at cleaning their room, or they're not bringing the dishes over from the dinner table to the sink, just put that aside for now, right? Like the biggest thing is using physical means to deal with their frustration and anger, right? And that's all you need to focus on for right now. And I guarantee if you do focus on that and really work on it, I need some outside support. You can create an adult who's not solving their problems in that way. So that is why all these resources and access to resources and stuff make a big difference, right? Because you can help your child be ADHD, but have skills,
right,
and develop into a, you know, a person who can fall in love and, you know, have a job and be a you know, participating in their community. It is possible.
And what's even difficult about that is the focus changes, you know, as the child grows. You know, once you think you've got something taken care of, you know, then there's something else that, you know, that comes up. So then it's, you know, it's like, it's a constant, you know, trying to keep on top of the challenges sometimes. So how can parents focus on the strengths of their child while they're going through all of these challenges?
You have to.
Right.
You know, you have to, because your child is more than their challenges. So they are a human being that they have strengths, they have interests, there's things that are bringing them joy that go beyond these challenges that they're having. And you just have to nurture these other aspects of them and not have the family just so focused on that. You will burn your child out and they will be depressed.
Right.
No, like, so their lives cannot be functioning around, you have to be producing. I mean, usually the problems are because they're not the best productive people in an academic setting.
Right.
Right. And so
disabilities too that can
there are what?
There are just learning disabilities that can go with that as well.
Right. And it's because they're not getting
challenging.
supported in the school in the right way. Right. So that's why parents have to address the school piece. And it's either 504, IEP, it could be moving to a different school, right? That there's amazing experiences where schools are supporting kids with learning and attention. It changes the kid's life, changes the family's life, right? So if that's an option, that suddenly changes that challenge, right? And then your kid is learning, they're building skills, there's time and space in the day to not argue about why aren't they doing their homework and all of that. And some ADHD people will say, not every ADHD kid needs to do homework. And it is not a predictor of how they will be as an adult, right? Homework is a killer. So looking at what and some ADHD kids don't have learning disabilities, right? And they're able to handle a higher academic load.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that's great. And maybe they just need some supports around that, right? And then there's some other ADHD kids who have severe, they have the learning disabilities in that too. And that is incredibly challenging to get to school. Through school, right? So it's how do you support them to get through school without that being the number one thing in the family, right? To bring in other things that the child is good at and recognizing that and spending time nurturing that.
So from the school side, would you help the parents? Would you coach the parents on how to advocate? Because a big part is just advocating. You got a 504 and IEP. School's not following the 504 or the IEP, which we hear all the time from parents. Even that schools that have actually pulled the IEP because child didn't want to go out of class and take a test or whatever it might be.
Because they weren't using one of their accommodations.
Using one of their accommodations, so they're not going to execute the rest of it, which is just a bunch of not right stuff that goes on.
Oh, because the child wasn't doing one part. They didn't want to participate. Oh, so they got rid of the whole thing.
They took the whole thing out.
Oh, yeah.
We've got, and there are education advocates, so we have them on our team. But how do you help a parent who has never advocated? You got a 504, they wrote it, they got somebody to write it, whether it was the school wrote it or whoever wrote it. But how do you make sure that they can advocate for their child? And it's a big job. It's really a big task.
If kids are not being serviced, I definitely recommend them to a special ed advocate to go with them. I don't do that, and I definitely say you need to do that. You need to get somebody to go with you to get the school on board with what's going on with your child. So that's kind of how I coach somebody through that. A lot of parents I talk to too, they'll think ADHD, they get a little confused because they know their ADHD kid is really smart, right? So they don't want to advocate. And they don't want to put they don't get why the 504 IEP is kind of important. And so ADHD is not a problem with IQ at all. That's not what it is, right? It's with these executive functioning systems, and it's different from every kid who has ADHD about how their working memory is, how their emotional regulation, are they impulsive, right? It's different for every single kid. We're all unique in our own way.
Yes, they are.
So it's very important to drill, to get a proper diagnosis, understand who your kid is, where are the struggles, right? And then to advocate for them in the academic setting that works for the school and for the kid. So so the parent needs to advocate by knowing who their child is, recognizing who their child is, and advocating for them in the school. So it's getting the right support in place. Are the supports happening? And then each teacher, I found you have to advocate. You got to send them a little note, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Send them a little note at the beginning of the school year, this is my kid. And it can be this is how my kid works and operates,
That's
right? It can be really nice and simple. And then you might need to check in with them.
Yeah.
And not every teacher you have to like have meetings with, right? Kind of depends, like if your child struggles with math, right? And you want to make sure as you get into like junior high and high school that they're tracking in the right group for support, and that they're not getting kind of over their heads or getting into in a classroom setting that is inappropriate for them. Because you don't want to be stressed and overwhelmed. This is the part nobody gets except for parents and people with ADHD. Stress and overwhelm is the killer, right? It is what really burns these kids out. So you constantly, you know, it's a dance of just lowering the temperature, if you will, to make sure, you know, they can't even function anymore because they're just so stressed and overwhelmed, right? That is the dance. And school plays a huge role in this.
They do. It's very competitive. It's very competitive in the schools.
Plus, you know, let's continue on this, because what about social media? You know, how do you counsel parents on getting your kids, you know, staying away from social media, or if someone is saying something on social media isn't nice about them or kind, or, you know, how, because that we hear all the time. Like, my child's on social media and basically, you know, someone's saying some nasty things about them because whatever. And
kids are nasty.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they have ADHD or not.
It does.
And they're nasty, this is about children. It's because they don't know better, right? And they're seeing things online and in our news, and they're seeing all kinds of nastiness in all kinds of places, right? And so they're just reflecting what they're seeing. So all children, in the spirit of children for the month of July, they're not like concrete, right? There's a lot of growth that's going to happen for them. And so social media, for kids who have ADHD, I have parented through social media, 2 kids. I would not let them on. I would not let them on. You know, maybe when they're 16, maybe, depending on who your child is. And it would be limited exposure. You're not, because they're 16, you know, let's talk about like a ADHD brain when they're 16, they're acting like they're 10, right? They're not, just because they're 16, their biological age is 16 doesn't mean they're ready for all this. I would limit it until they get through high school. If you're gonna cave in on that, I would limit it. You need to I would say texting. Kids are nasty in texting too. It's not just social media. So any way that they can, so it's you know, and some of that, I guess, is development for children, learning how to grow up and stuff. But if your child's being bullied, or, you know, sometimes ADHD kids say really inappropriate, mean things too. So sometimes they're on the wrong side of the fence on this as well. So it's like, you just have to monitor their screen time. And you need to be looking at what they're doing on gaming, if they're gaming, if they're on YouTube, anything screen related there's what's happening with child predators going after these kids. And I think that the naivety sometimes of ADHD kids, it is a landmine of all kinds of danger. And you have to be, if you're going to allow your kids to be on screen, you have to be on it. You have to be looking at it. You have to be limiting it, you know, putting as much, and limiting is like certain by time, but also like what you're allowing them to have access to. It's a pain in the butt. And honestly, if you know, like, you're so stressed and tired, and I get it. And it's like, you know, this one joke, like my husband wanted to, like, we were just like throw all the screen stuff out the window. We were just so sick of it, right? And it's just, and it's just worse now.
Oh,
it is just worse. So I would just say, like, there's horrible things that are happening there. Nothing good is coming from it. And if you look at the way tech is evolving, the thing that is going to be valuable is if your child grows up to an adult and they're able to communicate and connect with another human being.
Right.
That is the value going forward. It is not being able to navigate technology. That is not valued.
That's correct.
It was. And now all those people are probably going to, a lot of them are going to lose their jobs because AI is replacing this. It's all about, can you connect to other humans?
Yeah.
And that is what is going to be valued in our society going forward. So like social media ain't going to provide that to your kid.
No.
And being on, being a super gamer isn't getting them ahead in life. Watching 5 hours of YouTube videos isn't getting them ahead of life. And,
no.
Right? They're just seeing terrible things and all of that.
So. Yeah. Connection is so important too with kids that have ADHD. They need to feel connected to, whether it's just a small group of people or friends that value each other, we always encourage the kids to do is to find someone that you can, there's no talking behind your back. There's none of that. And you're right, kids can be nasty, but who's going to stick up for you? Who's going to be your partner there through the school day? And then outside of school, if you want to go out and play something outside, play a game or whatever you want to do. But we always encourage kids to find the right friends, which is hard sometimes.
Yes, it is hard. It's tricky, and sometimes kids with ADHD do better with kids that aren't their age.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you can find, they could be a caretaker for a younger child, right? Or an older child kind of hanging out with them, right? For riding bikes or like going, this summer, right? Going to the ice cream store. Like, how can they participate? Talking to the older elderly neighbor next door.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, right?
Yes.
You're so right. Yes.
And community service, every child's capable of community service. And it does a lot for them. It connects them to their community. All of that will serve them. I'm all about, like, you have to look beyond like the struggles and not get so hyper focused on that you think it's the end of the world, and look at how you want this little person to become an adult and how they participate in the community, right? That they live in, and being able to talk to other people. And
Anthony we were fortunate where that was concerned, because he was a great communicator and he loved people and he loved talking to people, and he could talk to little kids and he could talk to 80-year-olds, he could talk to anybody. And he just, because he had a real interest in people and he just liked being with them. But just going back to the screens for a second, one of the things that we didn't do was take away screens in the bedroom. So he was able to have his telephone, his phone in with him, at night. And, and we still say that had he not had his phone that night, he would still be with us. So I never thought it was important until then. That's a hard realization to have to come to. Is they don't, and they're up and they're looking at their phone all night long, just making sure that they're not missing anything.
Yes. And they're not getting sleep.
Right.
They're learning things that you would never want them to learn.
Yeah.
Right, about, and and it's really hard for parents, right? Because we're all tired and stressed. I saw a stat like 72% of parents are exhausted.
That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And it is a good fight to have.
It is.
That one is worth it. To really set the boundaries and the rules and stick to it for a very long time. And, your child's, of course, not going to recognize you as being some great parent at this time for that, but they will later.
They will.
And it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But structure is so critical. Cutting things off. Hey, there's a time to do this or a time to do that. And you talked about the best times that I had with Anthony when we were working out. We shared so much.
Yeah, see, the great connection.
7:30 time period, we talked about all kinds of things, and that was the best time for us. For he and I, we did 4 times a week, and
that's wonderful.
Yeah, and we encourage everybody to get out there and do something with your child too. I mean, walk or work out, play lacrosse in the backyard, catch, play, whatever it is, just to be around them. They need, and that's why June is Children's Awareness Month. This month is National Make a Difference Month for children. It's so important to be part of their life. And,
yes.
No matter, and we all have a busy life, 2 jobs and everything, but it's important that you block out that time.
In small ways, yeah. That isn't about all the struggles.
No.
It's about the something fun, like exercising or playing a game, or even if it's for 10 minutes, right? It's just something that's connecting, that isn't in stress and arguing.
Yeah.
So Anthony was a very wise individual, and his wisdom carries on, because as I was reflecting and kind of preparing for this conversation, I thought, really kindness is the magical key to all of this. And looking through everything you do when you're parenting, in this case, and you're raising a child with ADHD, is to look through that kindness lens. Mm-hmm. And not, there's moments of discouragement, right? And we can get frustrated, scared, all of that, but it cannot dominate the mission here, and it really goes back to doing it with kindness. It's where you find your strength. It's how you get through the day-to-day. It's just the wisest man in the room, with that kind of message, because it is true. There's a lot of truth in it.
And that's why, so we're big advocates of getting into the school system and helping the kids to get out there and do something kind in the community, and then come back and talk about it, and then put one of our hearts up on a wall, because it's like the old theory: you go do it, and then you write it down, you post it, you go through the action, you engage more with it. And if we can get more schools to do that kind of stuff, and that's what we're working on, working really hard to get more schools committed to be part of that program, a workshop, so it helps.
And I think it's it's great for kids who are struggling, but a lot of people in our world today are struggling. And it's a universal message right now, and a great reminder to everybody that we need, people are stressed, people are scared. There's all this stuff going on, all these negative, and kindness is kind of the way to balance all of that out, right? And kind of bring us back to, a more grounded place.
So from your perspective, what's the biggest hope for ADHD kids today? What is your one hope for them today?
So my biggest hope is that every ADHD child is supported and cherished by their own families, their schools, and their communities.
Yeah.
And if that happened, it would be a different world.
It would be. And that's, we've talked to, NC Child, who's a government agency here, and if we could just get people to understand, if we help the child, we help the family. If we help the family, we help society, because then those kids aren't becoming homeless. They're not becoming drug addicted. They're not losing their jobs. They're not ending up in jail. And it's such a hard concept to get through to the people that really need to understand it.
Yeah. And I'm glad you're doing that this month, because children are marginalized.
Yes.
Big time by the adults and people in power in our country. And I don't get it. That's why we're doing this, right? Is they are human beings that grow up into adults, and kind of how they're nurtured makes a big difference, right? as they grow up. And
so let me ask you one question that we had in mind too that we didn't talk about was when parents have the quandary of, do I give my child medicine for their ADHD or not? How do you coach them along in that side of it? Because we get that a lot. I mean, I was totally against it until I had a conversation with the pediatrician who changed my mind. But how do you encourage some of that, or how do you get them to work through it as a coach?
Yeah. So I don't have one size does not fit all on the ADHD medication, and it's I advise them to go talk to a professional in medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's a psychiatrist, neuropsychologist, as to whether it's the right fit for their kid, because there's so much going on, right? There's anxiety has a big role to play in medication, right? And how it works. And then a lot of ADHD kids have other health problems going on. Yeah. So, one thing I learned is like most ADHD kids are constipated, right?
Oh.
The whole system just works different. A lot of ADHD kids have asthma. They have sensitivities to food. They might have food allergies. They might have IBS problems, the opposite of constipation. There's so much going on with them physically that we don't even talk about in an ADHD, ADHD little world here, that the child's whole health needs to be considered, and it needs to, you need a person, because it's like depression driving what's going on with that child right now. Is it anxiety that's driving it? Or do they not have any of that and they just have these ADHD, planning, time management, kind of getting things going for the day, that kind of thing. So I do not advise parents on whether they should take medication or not. I advise them to consider it and look at the options. Yeah. And I just go, there's not one way of being. And kids change. I mean, there's all kinds of things, right? Kids grow up. Kids with ADHD are very vulnerable to substance abuse. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a kid who's addicted to something, whether it's marijuana, alcohol, something stronger than that, medication is like a whole different story on that, right? And the treatment plan for that is different. Mm-hmm. So it isn't just one solution to how to support a kid who has ADHD with the medicine. That's my opinion. And your kid's going to change as they grow. And a medical doctor is going to be your best resource to tell you whether this is something that's really going to help them or not so much, or what kind of medicine would be the best option. Because, it's ADHD is not, it looks different. There's some themes that are the same, but for each kid, you got to take into, do they have learning disabilities? Do they have OCD? Right. Do they have autism? Yep. Depression, anxiety, trauma? Did they have a parent die? Right? Like all of these things that affect kind of a kid's nervous system for ADHD, were they adopted, right? There's all these things that go into play. So it's very important that you go to the right expert to give you, and be curious. That's all, would be my best advice. Just be curious, right? Ask all the questions.
That's the best advice.
So good. Yeah.
And ask, and on the flip side too, you don't want to you don't want to over pill your kid either.
Right.
Right. So you need to have a balance there. And, it's unique. And, the other thing is, I think kids try to medicate all the symptoms out of their child.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that doesn't work. These are not healing pills. These
No.
are pills that help them stay focused and a little bit more regulated during the day so that they can learn skills. But the pill doesn't teach the skill.
Right.
And the pills are not going to make the kid suddenly become a typical child.
Right. Right.
So you have to really get educated in medication before you make a decision, and there's no right or wrong answer, I think, on that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and that's, that, as you know, that is why we have put together our group of experts that we have. So, so any parent coming to us, we have a roadmap for them with some of the experts that they need, not all of them. But the ones that, probably are going to be the most useful for them.
Yeah.
So that is our contribution to, to the ADHD mix in this whole world that we're trying to live in.
Yeah. And I think that's fantastic because the parent has to navigate all of this with different experts.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
In ADHD with whatever aspect that they're focused on.
Right.
And so it's a big load on the parent, right? To figure this out and kind of juggle all the different pieces. It's no small task.
No, and no one person, even if you're an expert, you don't know everything. There's other people that you should pull into the equation.
Yeah. Well, and I found like in my own journey, the experts really just get really good at one aspect.
That's
and
right.
they serve, and it's not that they don't know other things, but they're just going to help you with this one piece.
They're specialists in that.
And they're like, I can't deal with all the other parts. Like you got to go to somebody else for that. And so that's really challenging. So the fact that you guys are kind of pulling that together for parents is a huge benefit and very beneficial to truly being supportive on the parent side.
Well, we know what we needed.
Yeah, we wish we had
know what we needed.
It.
So we didn't have a coach like you to help us along. We had people for Anthony and a psychiatrist, but we didn't have a coach, and we wish we did.
Yeah.
They've gone along. And so we encourage coaching. We think it's so important for both the parents and for the child, because they're going to do it together, because they're going to learn so much together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
I mean, I didn't even know I was looking for a coach 15 years ago.
No, I didn't.
They really weren't even around.
No, they weren't.
They weren't. You didn't hear
it wasn't a thing, And so I really give thanks every single day that I kind of fell in the hands of this woman, because it really helped me.
Yeah. So what is next for ADHD Kids Can Thrive?
What is next? Well, the podcast lives on. I'm coaching parents, teaching, and advising officially. Parents one-on-one if they need guidance and help. And I coach them from, like, if they need a general education, they're just starting out, which is an important step. If their kid's been diagnosed, you need to find a coach to learn about ADHD. But then also the most fun I have in my coaching job is helping parents when they hit that crises point and they're like, what do I do? That's what I love.
Right.
Coaching really through and helping parents kind of navigate that journey. And that kind of resource is hard to get. And I think you can get it from coaches versus, doctors aren't going to do that for the most part. And the school doesn't do it, and therapists don't do it. So that's what I like about my role, is like being a coach, right? Is to kind of be that that's what I wanted and couldn't get, right?
Right.
Is that like when, things, you get a baseline of education, but applying the skills of parenting an ADHD child is a journey, right? It takes practice for life.
Yeah.
And so you hit bumps, and so it's nice to have access to a resource on that. And then I'm working on a couple other projects that aren't ready to be talked about yet, but they'll be coming out in the fall. So
but
I think I'm looking forward to those.
I think I saw on social that you have, you're getting ready to start a new season of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm going to have that cranking out in the fall again. So I love that.
How to reach out to you then? How can they find your podcast and how can they get to you?
Oh, probably the best way is to go to my website, which is ADHDkidscanthrive.com. And there they can see the podcast, get on my newsletter. They can email me from there.
Great.
Everything is there. One-stop shop on what is Kate doing at ADHDkidscanthrive.com. It's all there.
All right. And is there anything that we did not talk about today that you would like to?
Oh my gosh, we talked about a lot. We could probably talk and talk and talk.
We could, but we can do this again.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It was fun.
I'd love to do it again for ADHD Awareness Month in October.
Oh yeah, that would be good. I could have you guys on the podcast too.
You'll be doing some stuff, but it's important that we all get connected for that month, and share our messages.
And we learned so much by doing these podcasts too, by talking to, you as an expert and others. We are learning so much that we never even knew, because we're not experts on ADHD. We're just the parents of a child who had ADHD.
Right.
We're still learning because we are.
We didn't know everything before and we still don't. So.
No, and I don't, you know what? You're a student for life. That's how I feel. I'm a student for life.
Yeah, that's true.
In this, and you have to be because, the world's changing, the children are changing, the whole thing.
Schools are changing, kids are changing. Everybody's different. All children are different. Parents are different. So it's figuring it all out. But this was really wonderful. I mean, we thank you for your time. It was terrific to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you too. I admire your mission. And I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad it's coming together and that you're doing what you're doing. It's just really wonderful.
Thank you.
We're not going to stop until we can help as many kids as we can.
Yeah.
Personally help and meet with as many kids as we can. Many as we can. So Casey likes to close with a little statement for them.
Okay.
So every child deserves to feel seen, supported, and loved. This July, in honor of Make a Difference to Children Month, join us in creating a brighter future for kids with ADHD. One act of kindness, one moment of understanding at a time.
Yeah. And then we'd like to finish with our family motto, which I think we share. Today's the best day of your life and tomorrow will be even better.
We say it with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready? Today.
Go ahead.
Today is the best day of your life and tomorrow will be even better.
Yeah.
And life is better with
you.
And life is better with you.
Yes,
we
it
have
is.
To share that with our kids and tell everybody that. So.
Yes, it is.
Kate, thank you.
Kate, thank you so much.
Great. We appreciate you being with us. And
the
best
my pleasure. It's so nice to talk to you too.
Enjoy the summer.
Enjoy the summer, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending time with us today.
If you like today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use the information. And remember, a little bit of kindness goes a long way, especially for those kids with ADHD. See you next time.